Hello, I'm David.
And I'm Andrea. Welcome to If I Can, You Can.
This is the second in our series of video podcasts. Today we're going to can fruit. We're going to can fruit in syrup, and we're going to can homemade pie filling using apricots that I bought at the market this morning. Let's get started.
Okay.
We have all of our ingredients and our equipment organized. We have our lids and caps. We have clean paper towels and regular towels. We have a canning funnel, jar lifters, a juicer, lemons, and then pre-measured sugar and cornstarch and lemon juice for our pie filling. Andrea and I can a lot, so we have multiple canners. And today we're going to use a mid-sized canner. This one has a nice rack for good circulation of water underneath the jars. And it has the lid and the thermometer. We're going to can the apricots in syrup and the pie filling concurrently. And at the same time, we're going to make a pork roast for lunch. Because after we take it out, we're going to make an apricot sauce to go with it. Andrea's putting on salt and a little bit of cracked pepper. We want to make certain that the pork comes to a temperature of 160 degrees. I'm going to stick in the thermometer, and remember the tip of the thermometer is the sensor. So I want that all the way in the middle. And now I can put the roast into the oven. Our blanching water is hot and ready to go. And concurrent with that, we're also going to make our syrup for the canned apricots, and we're also going to make our base for the canned fruit. In that base, we'll put in sugar, cornstarch. You can also use a product called Clear Gel, and our lemon juice. Make certain to stir this often using a whisk as it comes up to temperature. We want that cornstarch to be completely dissolved with no lumps. We're going to blanch the fruit that we put into syrup. The other fruit that we're putting into pie we won't blanch.
This is our blanching basket. Basically, when you blanch something, you lower it into simmering water, almost boiling water, in order to loosen the skins so that they will slide right off. You don't want to put too much fruit in the basket at once, just one layer like that. And it's best to carry it on a plate because when you come back over, it'll drip all over the ground.
And we blanch any fruit that isn't organic. Anything that could contain pesticides might still have residue in the skin, so we want to take that out.
Blanching time varies from fruit to fruit and depending upon the ripeness of the fruit. But generally speaking, blanching takes about a minute. You can tell when the fruit is blanched when you can see the skin of the fruit lifting slightly off the fruit. That's when it's ready to be plunged into the cold water. And as you can see, as the fruit cools, the skin comes off very easily. I put the skins in the compost bucket. Okay. David is cutting out the pits and placing the fruit directly in the jar that will have the syrup poured over it later. This is why we like to can together, because we can be very efficient this way.
For the pie filling, we're going to cook these apricots for just about 5 minutes before we can them. But I'm putting them into the jars just to measure. It's my little cheat. Once you have your pie filling, it's easy to put a pie together just by baking a pie crust, pouring the filling in, cooking at about 425 degrees for half an hour, and then another half an hour at 350 degrees. The recipes are all on canningusa.com. Now we're ready to add our fruit for the pie filling, which was water, cornstarch, and sugar. We're going to hot pack our filling. So we're going to bring the fruit up to temperature, and then I'd like to cook it for just about 5 minutes before we can.
Apricots are full of vitamin C. They're also very good for your skin. A lot of beauty care products have apricot oil in them. And one nice thing about apricots is they're fairly filling, so you don't have to eat 25 of them to feel like you've eaten something. Although my kids can eat 25 of them without any problem.
Here's some fruits that we like to can. Last year we canned some pears from Andrea's garden, some figs from my garden. I did some figs in syrup and also some figs in wine, and then some cherry pie filling and peaches and rosé wine. I think the pie filling's ready, Andrea. Look how beautiful that is. And now we're ready to can our pie filling using a hot pack. The pie filling's hot, and we're putting it directly into the jars. Remember to always look up the amount of headspace and processing time right on the recipe on canningusa.com. Again, Andrea is removing the air bubbles. Then she'll wipe around it to ensure there aren't any food particles and put on the cap and lid, ready for processing. And according to our thermometer, our roast is ready to take out of the oven. I'm going to remove the thermometer and let the roast sit at least 30 minutes before serving. And now I can take our syrup and pour it into our jars. And this is a cold pack. The fruit is cold. You can find out the difference between a cold pack and a hot pack on canningusa.com. Andrea is running the wooden spatula around to ensure there aren't any air bubbles. And then she's wiping around the edge of the jar with a damp towel to ensure there aren't any food or syrup particles between it and the cap and the lid. And we'll process those today for about 30 minutes in our water bath processor. Remember to look at canningusa.com for exact processing times. And I'm going to put on my lid. And my thermometer. My thermometer is in Celsius, so I'm going to bring it up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 100 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to process these for 30 minutes today. And I'm ready to remove the pork roast and put it on the cutting board. And now with those juices, I'm going to put them on the highest temperature possible. Now that it's at a high temperature, I'm going to add my apricots. And put in some fresh sage. And I'll cook the apricots just 2 or 3 minutes, and they'll make a very nice sauce. Meanwhile, I'm slicing the roast. Look how juicy that is. That's why I always cook a pork roast with a meat thermometer, because it can come up to the correct temperature and remain nice and juicy. And our sauce is ready. And I'm going to take that and just plate it right onto my pork roast.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that we have inspired you to go out and start canning just as much as we do.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm going to take a little bite. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome.